When you think about businesses like Allbirds or Skims that are selling through the roof, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But what's often overlooked is the business behind the business that makes it all possible. For millions of businesses, that's Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. With ShopPay, you can boost conversions by up to 50%, meaning fewer abandoned carts and way more sales. Whether your customers are scrolling online, strolling through your store, or browsing social media, Shopify ensures you're ready to sell wherever they are. It's no secret, businesses that want to grow with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/DAX, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/DAX to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/DAX.
Hello, word nerds. Welcome to the ad for my podcast called The Dictionary. My name is Spencer Parks. I host this podcast. I read the dictionary, the words, the definitions, etymologies, even more. I talk about it. I try to explain things. I also sometimes try to put in some silly jokes or silly sing-songy things. You know, it's just a fun way to read the dictionary. Sometimes I have guests on. And I hope that you will turn on this podcast, check it out, start from the beginning, and, enjoy this, what I like to call edutainment. Check it out in all the places that you can find podcasts.
Hello, and welcome to How Did This Not Get Made?
This is the podcast all about the movies that were never made, the scripts that were never written, and the ideas that never even made it to the page. My name is Daniel Kaka.
And I'm Lexi Riley.
And we're back for part 2
Dose
of Gambit.
Undo.
Now, we are changing up the format because this script was a little long.
I'm excited because you had sent me Snapchats here and there.
Yes, I have.
And it was the most enticing way to do that because I was like, oh, what? What's happening?
Because there were moments in the script that were just unhinged.
And not safe for work.
Yeah. So make sure you're listening with headphones.
Yep. If there are children, it's time to have them leave the room.
Just send them outside.
Yeah, tell your kids to go play outside. Unless you're in Southern California.
Then go into the bunker.
Have them play Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
Can't follow a bunker.
We are going to go into this now. I wanted to split this up so that all of the history, all of the story of the movie not getting made, just all kind of stayed all together. And this script was 125 pages.
Yowza.
In screen time, that would have been...
I mean, they say a page per minute, but I kind of call bullshit on that.
Yeah, I do too.
Depending on like what's on the page.
Estimated this would have been about a 2-hour long movie.
If it's these days, almost a 3-hour movie.
Yeah. What has been your favorite aspect of Gambit so far?
Josh Holloway.
Josh Holloway.
Second, Lizzie Kaplan.
Mm-hmm.
Third, the character of Gambit.
Do you have an understanding of what his powers are?
Playing cards. It's... I think you actually said it best in the last episode where it is like the kinetic energy. Although there's the one adaptation or backstory where he buys the playing cards and I was like, yeah, that's what I needed. I get that like they're small and pocket size and you can carry them around because of the New Orleans element. And there's a magical element to New Orleans. I've always thought that that would be the tether. I mean, I was weirded out when I was like, it's just cards.
Yeah.
And especially when you said the tarot cards. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And you'll see a few instances of the tarot cards in the script. But yeah, he has kinetic energy that he stores into inanimate objects and then can make them explode. There has been some debate if he can do that with like an organic object or person or something like that.
Right. I'm going to throw you at a wall.
Yeah, but that's kind of been like iffy. For the most part, it's been like inanimate object, mostly in the form of cards.
I like the scientific part of like it's the kinetic energy behind it and not just firsthand magic.
Things go boom.
How old is Channing Tatum at this point in time?
Oh, 44 years old. He was born in 1980.
Okay. He's like 23 in the one story. He's almost double. Because the origins are so blurred, I don't mind that he's older. I kind of like that he's older.
I mean, you can veer away from the origin story if you were to make a Gambit.
You could. But like Lizzie Kaplan as Belladonna is something the world needs to see.
There is a joke that's in Deadpool and Wolverine. If you don't know the history of him getting a movie or like them trying to make a Gambit movie, all of them are like, where are you all from? And it's like, well, I came from this, came from this, came from this. And it goes to Gambit. And he's like,
maybe I was born here. It's hard to know for sure.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
There's another one too, but that one I caught last night. I was like, oh, I get the hype behind him.
Yeah. The character is instantly magnetic. Like anytime that he's on screen, you're just like, oh yeah. He has this charm about him that
Yeah, he's incredibly charming.
Yeah.
All of his D&D stats are in charisma.
Yes.
If you were a casting director and Channing Tatum, John Carter, Taylor Kish, Josh Holloway, and Keanu Reeves. So you have these four in front of you, age and whatever. Let's say they're all the same age for sake of this. Who are you casting?
I would want Josh Holloway.
I'm unbiased, so I couldn't answer that.
Josh Holloway, when I first read that, I was like, that one made the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just saw Channing Tatum as Gambit, and that's not to say that he would not be good at it.
No, he was fantastic. I really love how he steers into the dialect.
Yes.
And it's not unintelligible.
Like, he knows exactly what he's doing with it.
Yeah, 100%. But there is something about, and I don't know if it's like the Sawyer swagger.
Yeah, I think the fact that, like, you completely turn around on that character of, like, him being a bad guy, but you still want him to succeed. You still like him a lot. Like,
But he's always a bad boy at his heart. Like, he is always sort of a jerk. I will say there's something about Channing Tatum. He seems so nice. I don't get 100% bad boy. There's just like a genuine niceness there. I've seen Blink twice, which is a phenomenal movie.
oh, right. Yeah.
Like, spoilers.
He's the bad guy.
You start the movie and kind of get that vibe. But I still am like, I trust you.
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't, but I do.
I get that. Is there any wishful casting outside of the ones that were mentioned?
I don't know how you top Josh Holloway, to be honest. I want to know what Gambit is supposed to be. And I love Channing's version, but there's something about when you said Josh Holloway, it all clicked.
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Even more than Keanu Reeves.
Speaking of making sense, go ahead and make sense of these advertisements. Welcome back.
Did you make sense of those ads?
I did not,
I never do.
but I'm sure that our audience did.
They
and
are smarter
bought
than us.
every single product that was featured on there. So Spreaker, if you're listening, they bought all the products. So just a reminder, before we get into the script, this was written by Josh Zudemeyer. He's the one who was behind the RoboCop remake. He wrote Patriots Day. This is the second draft that he submitted in 2015.
Okay, so we're a decade ago.
This version would have had Lea Seydoux,
Oh, it's not my girl.
not your girl, although there is wishful thinking because it never got made.
I'm sure she's great. She was great in Dune. Nobody beats Lizzie Kaplan to me.
And this is supposed to take place after the events of Days of Future Past and Apocalypse.
Oh, after Apocalypse? I don't know why I thought it was in between. Okay, so the four horsemen have come and we've survived.
Yes.
Okay. In a world totally underwater. Oh my God!
We open on a red hat building in 1984, Louisiana State Penitentiary. We follow 3 U.S. Marshals making their way through the prison, taking any precautions, hinting that the prisoner that they are about to encounter is dangerous. They enter a maximum security wing, specifically made for mutants. They open the cell to an unknown shackled prisoner. They strap a mask on his face and cuff him with adamantium coils.
Oh.
He's taken out under maximum security and transported to a New Orleans courtroom. We're brought to the witness stand, and the mask is removed. This is Remy LeBeau. He's supposed to be in his 30s.
Okay.
Gambit. When we see his face, he is crushingly handsome. Movie star looks. This is a quote from the actual script, so I did not write that down.
That's nice.
During the trial, several women are swooning over him.
Oh, God.
They swear him in with a King James Bible, and just before Remy can touch the book, the U.S. Marshal yells weapon, and armed security points their gun at him. The judge asks if this is necessary, clearly unaware of the abilities to turn any mundane object into an explosive, and the prosecutor states that yes, if he does touch it, it could potentially kill everyone in the room.
Yeah. Big deal.
The judge allows the proceedings to continue, but tells Remy not to touch anything. The female jury members state that they cannot be objective because in this case he is too good looking to look like a criminal. They begin to argue over who he looks like and how he looks, and the judge bangs his gavel to stop them. The prosecutor states that they need a new jury, quote, and that, in a nutshell, is Gambit. Dangerous, but sexy.
No. Was this supposed to be Channing, or was this Josh Holloway?
This is Channing Tatum.
Okay.
Cut to the Boudreaux Plantation, New Orleans, 1955. We see a garden party that's been ruined by sudden rainfall. Everyone scrambles to get inside, and in the middle of the chaos, we see Luc Lebeau. He acts like a servant to sneak in and makes his way stealthily into the master bedroom. He finds the wall safe, and it's empty with scorch marks around it. He's been beaten to it, and turns to the window to catch a shadow of the thief that got there before him. Luke chases down the thief to a shanty in Storyville, where the mutants hang out. Now, I do need to point this out. Storyville in New Orleans, as of now, does not exist. It used to be an area of New Orleans that was like the Amsterdam of New Orleans. Like,
Got it. I thought this was a made-up thing, so I'm glad you clarified.
it is a real thing. It is not anymore. In this reality, it just kept going, but it's specifically for mutants. Yes. I was surprised to find that out. I was like, I've been to New Orleans, and I was like, I've never heard of Storyville before. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, it used to be a real thing. If you watch the Interview with a Vampire, the series, there are parts of that show that take place in Storyville.
That's what I thought.
So, yeah, Storyville, that's where the mutants are segregated to. Luke discovers it's a 6-year-old boy that's bested him. He's able to catch up to the boy and talk to him. It's a young Gambit. Luke calls him out for stealing, and Gambit reveals that he's an orphan, and this is how he makes a living, thieving. Luke walks away, showing that he respects the little thief. Gambit looks through his haul and reveals he stole a ring and a roll of photographs from the Boudreaux. Gambit follows Luke, and in the process gets stuck in a swamp. Luke helps him out and takes him under his wing. He brings Gambit to his home, which is known as, quote, the boat, a multi-tiered jungle of house parts built into a steel hull. There we meet 6 boys Luke has adopted. The first 2 that we meet are Henry and Charlie. Gambit reeks from being in the swamp, and the boys force him to take a bath. When his head is pushed underwater, the capillaries in his eyes fill with a rust-colored blood, and the ice-cold water begins to boil, and a massive wave of energy explodes away from young Gambit. Luke investigates the ruckus, wondering why the place is covered in water. We see young Gambit in the tub. He's ashamed. Luke comforts him. While Gambit was being brought in, the boys were working on breaking open a slot machine unsuccessfully. Luke asks if Gambit can try and break it open. Gambit touches it briefly, and the slot machine bursts open. Luke and the boys are proud of what he can do and see a lot of potential in him. French Quarter, 1964, about, I think...
Almost a decade later.
Yeah, 9 years later. Gambit is now 14, and he is with his brothers, who are all in their teenage years.
Oh, so he's itty-bitty. If he's supposed to be 14, and he's 5 in the last?
He's 6 years old.
Okay.
They are running with various stolen groceries in their hands. Cops begin to chase him down until they get to the border of the French Quarter in Storyville. The brothers warn Remy not to cross into Storyville, but Remy goes through anyways. This is the segregated section for mutants. He runs through an area and is scared by a little 10-year-old girl looking at him through the window. She has black eyes and horns. He continues his way into the psychic parlor and pauses to see a 13-year-old girl reading tarot cards to a tourist couple. This is the first time Remy sees Belladonna Boudreaux. She gives a generic fortune based on the cards, and the couple thinks that they're getting scammed. They grab their cash and leave. Quote, Bella's body creates a static charge. Her clothes and her hair seem to become weightless, like she's underwater. Suddenly, Bella's eyes roll back into her head. Eerie. The tourists stop in their tracks. Bella, a psychic who's actually a psychic.
Hey.
Yeah. She reveals the actual truth about them as blackmail and demands $200 from them. The cops are closing in on Gambit, and he slips into the room with Bella. Bella throws a knife at Gambit, and Gambit grabs a tarot card and throws it back in defense.
Hey.
They both miss, but Gambit's card hits the wall and it explodes. She's impressed. and helps Gambit and his brothers escape from the cops by leading them to a brothel.
Oh, goody.
Yep. To disguise himself, Gambit throws on a brown duster that's too big for him.
I really like this.
They spot 4 cops below. Gambit grabs a nearby copper pipe and heats it up, and the steam that bursts out incapacitates the police. They continue their escape. They see a cop car and hop in. With Gambit's powers, he's able to hotwire the car, and they crash it immediately.
Boys will be boys. There's where that goes.
We cut to a toothless Gambit getting his mugshot.
Oh my God. This is so cute.
At the police station, Bella and Gambit formally meet each other, and for the first time, Gambit says his name is Remy LeBeau. She asks, "So you're a pretty good thief, huh?" And Gambit replies, "Nah, I'm the best that's ever been."
Cute. Oh my God, I can hear it in Channing Tatum's accent. That's great.
Needle drop, Devil went down to Georgia.
Yes!
Luke arrives at the police station to pay Gambit's bail, and Bella's mother bribes the cops to let her daughter free. Marianne, who's Bella's mom, and Luke exchange unpleasantries, accusing each other that their child is a bad influence. Gambit steals a kiss from Belladonna before they are pulled apart. Devil went down to Georgia fades out in the scene.
Yeah, this is a good movie so far.
Cut to the Boudreaux Plantation, 1973, 10 years later. A bell-bottom-clad adult Gambit pulls up to the Boudreaux in a stolen cop car and uses his thieving and better-controlled powers to make his way into the house. He spots Bella in the shower.
Oh, no!
Bella's
took a turn.
Bella's cousin asks from the hallway if she's going to the guild meeting, and she says she'll go. Meanwhile, Gambit sneaks into her bedroom. Then the two passionately kiss. They've been keeping their relationship a secret.
I mean, great, but you don't need to creep on her in the shower. I get that you're together and all, but...
In another demonstration of Bella's powers, she asks if she can enter Gambit's thoughts while making love.
Oh, apparently they just share everything.
She enters his mind and sees an image of Gambit's brother Henry on the toilet eating fried chicken.
What?
Gambit saved the memory as a prank for Bella.
Oh my God. You instantly get the R-rated Deadpool vibe.
Oh, yeah. The two continue to hook up on the bed, and in the background we see TV footage of Mystique saving Nixon, an event that occurred during X-Men Days of Future Past.
Oh, spoilers. You had time.
You should see it. The two pause and talk about getting married. Gambit wants to elope in Vegas, while Bella wants a traditional New Orleans marriage.
Of course.
The two are interrupted by Bella's brother, Julian, knocking on the door and asking if she's coming. Gambit does a Batman exit. In an oak alley, which is just like an alleyway filled with like oak trees all around. I was very confused by that direction too.
Oh, I mean, yeah, made sense.
We see Gambit's powers grow stronger. His eyes turn rust red, and he throws cards at a tree out of frustration until the tree splits in half. Later that night, the Assassin's Guild is holding an event at the Guild Hall. Luke, Boudreaux, Gambit, and a handful of his brothers sneak into the event. Belladonna spots Gambit, knowing he's up to no good, and tries not to acknowledge him. In the back room, we see Marianne paying off a councilman to stop the expansion of Storyville. The band plays a song that increases in tempo. Bella and Gambit start dancing, and the two are the only ones that can keep up. The two start gravitating towards each other. But Bella's brother, Julian, steps in between to stop all of this.
Oh.
Marianne steps in and insists that they take this outside. Gambit cools down the tension and talks to Marianne about teaming up for a heist. Gambit asks for her blessing to be with Bella, and in exchange for agreeing to the heist, Marianne and her family would become a lot richer.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
After the event, back at the Boudreaux, Marianne expresses to Bella that she doesn't trust those thieves.
Fair enough.
We cut to a heist underway. It's a combined crew of 40 people that meet at the back entrance of a Federal Reserve Bank. To ensure trust between each other, Bella climbs on the back of Gambit's motorcycle and they ride together into the bank. The two use their combined powers to blast through the bank and hold up the floor of government employees. The rest of the crew enter behind them. They make their way down to the vault, break it open, and grab everything that they can. They're about to leave, and Gambit spots a second vault. The vault wasn't in the original blueprint and decides to investigate, ignoring the advice to do otherwise. Gambit is addicted to the rush. Bella can see the cops are closing in, and she leaves Gambit behind.
Oh boy.
Bella uses her abilities to find where the cops are, and for the first time, her guild can see that she's also a mutant.
Bum bum bum.
Julian chokeslams Bella against the wall, and Gambit knocks him out. Gambit blows a hole through the wall to make their escape, and suddenly everyone in the bank goes silent. Marianne asks Bella to step away from Gambit. She has to decide between Gambit or her family. Bella lets go, and the thieves and the assassins are in a standoff. Luke tries to defuse the situation, but Julian keeps staring at Gambit, wanting to kill him. As tension begins to loosen, Julian reaches for his gun, but Gambit is too quick and throws a card at Julian, killing him instantly.
Oh.
Bella, horrified, gives a look at Gambit. Before he can explain, the thieves and assassins start shooting at each other. In the chaos, Luke has been shot and dies. The Boudreaux and LeBeaus take off in separate directions. Gambit and the other thieves grieve over Luke's body. Henry beats on Gambit and knocks out a tooth. Gambit doesn't fight back, like he deserves it. Henry and the other brothers agree that this was his fault, and they turn on him, and Gambit leaves for good.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can't get over the Romeo and Juliet feeling of it all. Capulets and the Montagues. You immediately, it gives you tension, and you want to root for their love.
You root for their love. Had it not been for this circumstance, they wouldn't be.
Right.
Otherwise, they would just be together and wouldn't have to hide it all. Because of the summary, it's not really there, but probably tell that Bella's mom is against mutants.
It's very clear. And that's what I mean, by Romeo and Juliet, they are star-crossed lovers, ill-fated from the beginning because of mutants, as is every X-Men story.
Yeah, because it's always been a metaphor for immigrants.
Being othered in any way.
Yeah, and even Professor X and Magneto has always been kind of a avatar for Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. Cut to 10 years later is 1983, and we are in Paris.
Oh, and he's in his 20s, so he's in his 30s at this point?
Mm-hmm.
The city of love.
We follow a man in his 40s through a pool hall into the back room where we find a drunk Gambit. He dons a trench coat with a fur collar.
Oh my God.
And pink striped bike shorts and has a gold tooth.
Great. The imagery's stellar.
The two go into the back alley and get into a van to do a job. Gambit sees the driver as a mutant, and he tells the head of the crew, Jake, I'd be careful if I were you. Can't trust him. They arrive at the Louvre. It's nighttime.
Yeah.
And the museum is under construction. Gambit is really sloppy and trips the alarm. Bars and plexiglass trap the other robbers, while Gambit uses his ability to grab a painting and leaves them all behind.
Oh my God, the Josh Holloway of that scene is so good.
It's fantastic. When they're all sneaking down there, I didn't include it in this because I didn't think it was necessary, but the first thing he does is he has a boombox and just starts playing music.
That's a really good bad boy.
Yep. So he steals the painting, and then we smash cut to that same stolen painting hanging in a Paris nightclub. We find a jaded Gambit, quote, Gambit, in the bath, shirtless. Next to him, a dude in an inflatable raft, wearing a giant rabbit head.
Bathtub?
It's kind of like a
jacuzzi.
jacuzzi. A bald girl doodles on Gambit's naked back with a Sharpie. A woman, Jacqueline, approaches him. They flirt for a bit, and we cut to them hooking up in the back. The next morning, we are in Gambit's apartment, messy and filled with stolen items. Jacqueline wakes up next to Gambit and shapeshifts into Jake.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Jake, he's the one that went through the pool hall before going to the job. Yeah. Gambit panics, but Jake is not mad about being left behind. Instead, that was a test from his employer to see if Gambit was up for a bigger job. Jake tells him that he needs him for a job in New Orleans. Gambit wants nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. He tells him that the Boudreaux nearly killed all the thieves, and he'll get paid $40 million to rob Belladonna and her family. Gambit asks who Jake's employer is, but Jake will not give that up. Gambit refuses to do the job, but Jake's employer anticipated that. Jake hands Gambit a Betamax tape and tells him that the plane takes off at noon. Jake leaves, and Gambit plays the tape. It's surveillance footage from the robbery 10 years ago. It's Marianne shooting Luke LeBeau in the back. Gambit leaves immediately.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault.
Nope, it was never his fault. Gambit arrives back to New Orleans to find that the city is mostly underwater. This is an unintended consequence from Magneto's manipulation of the Earth's magnetic field from X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, in a world totally underwater.
Gambit has Jake stop the car when he sees his old neighborhood, and he dives into the water. He arrives at the houseboat he grew up in and finds Luke's safe and breaks into it. He grabs a ring and a leather satchel. He gets back into the car, still wet and ruining the leather interior. He looks at the old ring, which was supposed to be an engagement ring. He then opens the satchel. It's an old photo of Gambit as a kid, standing next to his real parents. They continue to drive through the destroyed city and arrive at Henry's house. Henry hasn't aged well. Jake shapeshifts into Jacqueline. Henry sees Gambit and scoffs. Turns out Henry and Jacqueline know each other. Jacqueline was supposed to recruit a ringer for their team, but he was not expecting Gambit. They exchange words, apologies are said, and they get to the point where they are civil with each other. Something that I noticed in the script, because it's underwater and all that stuff, this is definitely hurricane relief metaphor.
At first I was like, oh, it's not. I assumed it was from a hurricane and not Magneto.
Well, in this case, it's supposed to be a Magneto, but it's definitely...
The metaphor is there and not entirely subtle.
Yeah, the fact that New Orleans still, even to this day, hasn't fully recovered from Katrina, it's all there. There's even a line in there that says, all the relief money went to New York City and New Orleans got nothing.
Yeah.
We get a flashback of the flood. While the waters were rising, a team of mutant assassins were hired to kill the LeBeaus. They even killed the councilman that Marianne bribed earlier. We see other mutants, known as the Vanisher Twins, rob a mansion. All these hired mutants show up at the Boudreaux's, and Marianne is there to pay them handsomely. Jake explains that his employer got hit the worst, more than anyone. They know Marianne is going to sell the valuables at an underground auction. Henry shows the plan to stop all of this. They drive by the Boudreaux's to do some surveillance. Gambit dismisses the plan and goes ahead and walks onto the property. Henry chases him. Gambit takes out 2 guards and spots a van unloading. They find the stolen treasures are being stashed, but more importantly, they spot a pallet marked with a double helix. On the pallet are cases of green pills. Inside, Bella, who now sports short blonde hair, is cooking in the kitchen when she can feel Gambit is nearby, and suddenly he makes his presence known. Gambit tells Bella that he's been hired to take back everything that the Boudreaux's stole. But if he's paid double, he probably won't do it. Marianne enters the room. The tension is high. And all hell breaks loose when Marianne orders the Vanisher Twins to kill him. Gambit uses an orange like a grenade and disappears in the explosion. I don't know why they did this. This is going to be confusing. All 3 Vanisher Twins.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
They call them the Vanisher Twins, but there's a total of 3 of them.
Okay.
That's all the explanation I got.
All right.
I was trying to find out if this was something in X-Men.
Right.
There is a character, I believe, that goes under the name Vanisher, but it's just one person.
It's one person with one name.
That's it. So this fabricated for the movie.
Okay.
The Vanisher Twins, they disappear and Bella grabs a gun. Gambit runs through the house trying to avoid the twins when suddenly they appear in his way. They get stuck in the bathroom. Gambit, using anything he can get his hands on, he explodes, while the twins continue to beat the shit out of him. Gambit charges a bath mat that all 3 of them are standing on, and they disappear before it explodes. Gambit uses the opportunity to jump out of the window and into a hedge maze.
Okay.
The twins get lost immediately. Gambit spots a pink Cadillac and hotwires it. Bella has her gun pointed at him. She's ordered to shoot, and at the last second, she points the gun slightly away from Gambit and misses. Gambit drives away, spots his brothers, picks them up, and takes off.
In a pink Cadillac.
Another mutant, known as Richter, chases them down the street on a motorcycle, and we get a car chase through the streets of New Orleans. Gambit starts throwing anything he finds in the car out the window, and Richter dodges all the explosions that are being thrown at him.
That's such a good scene.
Right? Gambit has an idea and crashes into the police station.
Oh, good.
He gets out and surrenders to the cops. The Boudreaux's turn around and stop their pursuit. Marianne orders her assistant to round up Fifale to get rid of Gambit. We don't know who that is, but this is bad news bears.
Oh, Fifole. Is that another mutant? We just don't know.
That one is an actual mutant, yes.
Okay.
Gambit, Henry, and Charlie are escorted through the prison. As they walk through, Gambit casually greets other prisoners he knows from his past. They get to the holding cell, and Henry starts to feel withdrawals. Gambit grills him on what he's taking, and turns out he's taking those green pills.
Uh-oh.
It's a pill that turns you temporarily into a mutant.
Oh.
Meanwhile, Marianne's assistant goes to the fishing docks to hire Fifale. This is how he's described. I did not make this up. A tattooed Chinese mutant in ghostly geisha makeup. He looks vaguely like an old kung fu master, hunched over and peeling shrimp with his long fingernails.
Uh-oh.
The assistant pours out a bag of stolen loot, but he doesn't care. He then pulls out a machine and drops some shrimp into it. It's an automatic shrimp peeler. Fifale agrees to go.
What?
That was the thing he wanted.
Was an automatic shrimp peeler?
Don't we all?
Kind of.
Yeah. We cut to Fifale walking through the prison. Electricity flows through his fingertips. Gambit does not notice before he's electrocuted, knocked to the ground, and is beaten. He's stopped when a man whistles off screen. We pan up to reveal Nathan Essex, and next to him, Alice. Alice casually pulls out a gun and slides it across the floor. She smiles at Fifale and puts her finger to her temple. Fifale picks up the gun and shoots himself in the head.
Whoa.
Yep, we went there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essex uses telepathy with the help of Alice to talk with Gambit. Gambit assumes that this is the guy who hired him and that he's a drug dealer. Essex corrects him. He is the one that hired him, but he's not a drug dealer. He's a geneticist. He says that because of his stunt, the Boudreaux are now taking his trunk and pharmaceuticals to a more secure location. In the conversation, Essex states, quote, "Remy, I hired you because I wanted an artist. I see so much potential in you. If you had some discipline, you could be one of the most powerful mutants the world has ever seen."
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, that's what Superman said.
Madam Web,
Yes.
actually.
Oh, right. I forgot. Her mom went down to study mutants
In the jungle.
in the jungle of Peru and found Sonic. To save on time and explanation, Alice unloads the plan into Gambit's mind. We get a quick flash of a truck with a trunk inside of it with excesses stolen stuff. It's on a way to a new location. In a gag shot, we see Gambit's brothers observing the silent conversation.
That's actually also really funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Back to the conversation, we learn that we only have 4 days to pull this off. Essex leans into the light, and for the first time, we see a diamond-shaped scar on his forehead. For the nerds in the audience, you will recognize Essex by his alter ego, Mr. Sinister.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. This is something that was brought up in the Wolverine Origins thing, is like, for whatever dumb reason, we cannot use their superhero names. We can only call them by their...
right, because he's like Wolverine and Logan.
Yeah. We never actually hear Deadpool. They might have mentioned it, but
They do at some point.
But they only call him Wade Wilson, and then they call him Experiment X or
Yeah.
Experiment
I think
11
he
or
says
something.
his name is Deadpool or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, Wade,
Yeah.
whatever.
And this is the same way they're using their real names.
Right.
They're
not
using their government names.
Right. They're not using their made up names.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using their made up names.
Essex explains that the pills are meant to be taken by humans so that they may become mutants too, to end the discriminations towards mutants if everyone is the same. Gambit asks what would happen if he didn't take the job. Alice sends him images of everyone he knows dead, and Gambit agrees to do the job.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll seal the deal.
Boudreaux's thugs unload crates of stolen loot from cargo vans and store it into an old gambling house. There is security everywhere. Marianne overlooks the operation, and she sees a specific metal trunk, and she orders them to take it around back. Marianne's assistant arrives and tells her someone intervened. Marianne gives a speech to 3 of the thugs about family and loyalty.
Fast X.
They seem to be on board, but then she really tests them when she asks Bella to search their minds. The 3rd thug gives a tell, and then he starts to piss himself.
Oh my God.
The others are ordered to hold him down, And as Bella and Marianne are walking away, the other thugs gun down the traitor in the background.
This is an R-rated film.
It definitely is. Marianne tells Bella that she thinks Gambit will thwart their plans, but he does have one weakness and asks if she can read his mind to get the plans. Bella creates an astral projection of herself, and her consciousness leaps from body to body and eventually to Henry's wife, who is on her way home from the grocery store. Meanwhile, Gambit is trying to convince Henry to help him on the job. Henry is hesitant, but agrees to join. The two cook up a plan and agree that they need a team of mutants to help pull this off. The plan is all heard by Bella in Henry's wife's body.
That's not how astral projection works, though. Because she would project herself.
It's just like a visual for the audience to see, like,
So she can body jump.
yeah, like her soul has left her body or like whatever, and like enters into another body to be like, you can kind of like take over
Yeah.
from that person. So it's the best way to describe it, as like that for visual effects for like anyone who's going through and be like, what is it going to look like?
It's when the Scoob souls got mixed up.
Yeah. Otherwise it would just be like, I'm in a new body now. I'm in a new body now. It's like,
Yeah. But she's not creating
no,
anything, any new body to jump
it would be
into.
something that we would see as an audience, but around her, no one else would see
Right.
this. Yeah. So they need mutants to help with this team. They find a 21-year-old girl, Danny, creating a demon illusion at a church to help a priest scare the parishioners into giving more money. They go to her place and she demonstrates her illusionist powers to Gambit.
Illusions.
And she's in. Gambit and Henry follow two other mutants, Jamie Madrox and Mask, known as the four-man wrecking crew, as they rob a gun store and a jewelry store. Before entering the jewelry store,
Jewelry.
Mask touches Jamie's face, and Jamie's face contorts into a completely different person, and two identical clones eject out of his back. They proceed with the robbery, but Gambit steps in and stops it, and points out that the vault is on a timer, so it can't be opened during business hours, and all the diamonds that are on display, all of them are fake.
What?
These are definitely inexperienced people.
Yeah.
We cut to the crew going over the plan. Alice stops by to give Gambit a case of money. They're going to steal the vault during the thieves' ball.
During the Met Gala.
Yes. And they're going to sneak in dressed as caterers.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Henry suggests they get Mystique to help with the mission, since they just saw her on TV, but Gambit says there's no time and no one knows Mystique. So how are we going to do that? We see Mask is looking a bit ill.
Uh-oh.
And that's because he's been possessed by Bella. She's watching. We cut to the French Quarter. Everyone is celebrating Mardi Gras through the square. Outside the French Quarter is the Palace of Chance. Not a real place. Not real. Where they are holding the Thieves' Ball.
Oh my God, it is the Met Gala.
The crew is dressed as caterers, and Henry secretly takes a mutant pill. Marianne puts out a hit on the catering van. The thugs rip off the door, and they reveal actual caterers inside. It was all a switcheroo.
Yeah.
The actual crew arrives in the back entrance and reveal that their outfits are actually for roadies to help the Storyville singers and their orchestra.
Nice.
Some of the members are actually in on it, and they hand the crew Mardi Gras masks to help disguise them. And that's why we have these masks right here to disguise ourselves.
Yeah, because we're going to the Met Gala later
going
to
to the
steal some
Met Gala.
jewels.
The team feels lied to, but Gambit says that they are dealing with a psychic, and if he had told them the plan ahead of time, the heist would be compromised. He hands them all envelopes with time stamps on them. When the time comes, that's when they open the envelope and do what's instructed.
Ooh.
This is so cool.
This is really cool. Also, if someone asked me right now how you describe the Gambit movie, it's Romeo and Juliet meets Ocean's 8.
Yeah. And it's just so good. Two of the envelopes can be opened immediately. Jamie goes to the shop and plays cards. Henry and Gambit climb out the window, and we enter into the lobby filled with criminals.
Yeah.
They also mention in there, like, amongst the criminals that you see in, like, gangs and whatnot, they're making cameos from, like, other X-Men movies.
Okay, that makes sense. That's a good tie-in. It doesn't feel forced.
No. And it just shows, like, everything is connected. Marianne is scrambling to try and find Gambit and his crew. She tells Bella to do whatever it takes to take him down. Gambit and Henry are up on the catwalk while an auction is happening. Marianne takes the mic and announces to the crowd that there is an uninvited guest, Remy LeBeau. And there's an offer of $1 million bounty. This forces Gambit to abandon his original plans and improvise.
Yeah, throw those time-stamped envelopes away. That's sad. Those were a cool plot device.
Yeah. Bella is using her astral projection to jump from body to body in search for Gambit. Bella's body lays on the ground in an opera box. So whenever she takes the consciousness of other people, her body is just lifeless.
Yeah.
Whenever she does this.
I've seen Charmed.
So she's laying in a box and suddenly she's awakened by a tap on the shoulder. It's Gambit.
Hello.
Mm-hmm. Gambit needs some insight on what he's stealing, and in exchange, she gets to intrude his thoughts. She states that what they stole were drugs, and that's pretty much all she knows. Now Bella gets to go inside of Gambit's mind, and we see all the sad moments of him in his childhood, and the time they kissed at the police station. We see the bank robbery gone wrong from Gambit's point of view, and how Bella let him down. Lastly, we see Remy and Bella happily together. This was Gambit's aspirations, and the two start to make out.
Such a sweet moment.
As Gambit gets handsy with Bella, he finds knives on her and gets rid of them, and he slips something into her back pocket without noticing.
It's a love letter.
But this was all a ruse. Gambit zip ties Bella to the bedpost, and Alice steps in with a pistol pointed at her.
Hold up. The memories were a ruse?
No. Talking to her, getting her on his side.
Yeah.
Letting down her guard, and then zip.
Right, but those memories were real.
Those memories are real.
Yeah.
But
painful.
Very painful. So Alice steps in, pistol pointed at her. Gambit leaves with Alice watching over Bella. Danny opens her envelope, and she climbs down a laundry chute and lands on a pile of linens and reunites with Gambit and Henry. Marianne's assistant returns to the opera box and finds Bella is missing. Marianne orders more minions to go into the basement to find Gambit. Alice and Bella have a psychic face-off. Bella breaks free from her zip ties and they fight. But since they can read each other's thoughts, they are blocking and dodging each other's strikes.
Oh my god, that's really good.
Mm-hmm. Bella puts the thought of Henry eating fried chicken on the toilet in her head, and Alice sees it and catches her off guard. Bella uses the opportunity to kick Alice out of the window, and she falls to her death.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man, that fried chicken really making a return.
Right? I did not see that happening.
No, I did not see that coming.
Chekhov's fried chicken.
Chekhov's fried chicken.
Amazing.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Toilet chicken.
Yes. Bella grabs Alice's gun and leaves. Back in the basement, the team spots an inventory being hauled into a freight elevator. Marianne's assistant and the other minions are with him. Danny conjures up an illusion of Julian, now zombie-like, to scare them. Julian tells the assistant that his death was not his fault, and he should be leading the family. Suddenly, more dead figures from these criminals' past pop up and give emotional closure to them. The distraction works, and the team makes their way into the vault. They find the trunk and open it. They're interrupted when Bella enters, holding a gun at Henry's head.
Holding some fried chicken.
Yes. She lowers the gun when she sees what's inside the trunk. It's a young mutant girl. This is Sarah. She's disfigured, with black eyes and bones jutting out of her face like horns. Fans would know her as Marrow.
Marrow?
Marrow. This is an actual mutant, yes.
Oh, okay.
This is the girl that scared Gambit as a kid when he ran into Storyville.
Oh.
Only she never aged. Meanwhile, Danny is starting to lose focus, and it's becoming harder to maintain the illusions. Marianne's assistant breaks from the illusion and finds the team. Bella is furious at him, now that she knows that her mom was trafficking mutant children. She orders him to get into the trunk the girl was in, and he refuses, and Henry punches him with his mutant strength and knocks him out.
Right into the trunk.
I love it. Bella and Gambit seem to be on the same side.
Yeah, because you don't traffic children.
Yeah, but she hits him because of his previous mind games.
Right.
The team and Bella escape. The thugs wake up from their illusions and start chasing them down. They manage to escape up the elevator and opens into the lobby, and everyone goes silent when they see Gambit. And Henry has to ask, "We got an envelope for this?"
It's a good plot device.
That's a really great plot device. Marianne speaks up and asks Bella to come here. and she refuses. Marianne states that the bounty is still on. Just as the criminals are about to attack, Gambit tosses a bunch of gold coins into the crowd. The criminals reach for the coins when suddenly they all begin to explode.
Oh, God.
They make their way to the double doors, Gambit tossing cards, exploding a path to freedom. Marianne watches from above and grabs a shotgun. They are about to step out the doors when they see cops have arrived. A shotgun blasts near them and forces the team to turn around. It's Marianne, pointing a gun at them. Bella points out her mom's hypocrisy and says, "You're fine with mutants as long as they make you rich." She replies, "Actually, I always thought you were one of the good ones. Him, on the other hand." She points a gun at Gambit and fires. Sarah steps in front of Gambit and takes the hit. The room goes silent. Sarah begins to heal, just like Wolverine in Deadpool, and breaks off one of the spikes and throws it at Marianne, impaling her in the leg. Bella takes over her mom's body. She makes her walk outside and surrender to the cops, saying that she stole everything.
Yeah, that's how you use it.
Bella snaps back into herself and is now the new head of the family. She orders Gambit to get Sarah out of there. They escape, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. We cut to Mask and Jamie in Danny's place. It's 10:30. Time to open the final envelope.
Yeah.
Gambit, Henry, and Danny make their way into the Mardi Gras crowd. The cops are closing in on them. Gambit decides to take them to Storyville. We see Jamie and Mask setting up hundreds of fireworks, and from a boombox, they blast 1999 by Prince. This is a quote in the script. I think this was just like a note to the producers. It says, "I was dreaming when I wrote this. Forgive me if it goes astray." When Gambit reaches them, Mask changes Jamie to look like Gambit, and he duplicates himself over 100 times.
Yeah.
Fireworks launch into the air, and Gambit clones are dancing to Prince. The police have no idea what to do, and they just give up. They all meet up at Danny's place, and Gambit pays them out about $500,000 each.
You guys are getting paid?
I was just thinking about the scene with all of the Gambits,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like the Deadpool 3 writers read that script.
Yeah. Also, him being a dancer, they have tried to find any and every opportunity for him to dance.
For Channing Tatum, yeah.
Yeah. So, like,
Yes.
there's the part where him and Belladonna are at the dance floor, gravitating to
Right.
each other. There's even the part where he's robbing the Louvre. When he turns on the
Oh,
boombox,
yeah.
he's also dancing in that as well. So, like,
Yeah, that has
any excuse.
Yeah, but like that's not a Gambit, that's a Channing Tatum.
It is exactly a Channing Tatum thing.
It's saying, "Hey, you were in Step Up and Magic Mike."
Yeah. We got to show you those skills somehow.
It's becoming a chicken or the egg. What came first in the lore? Was it Channing Tatum or was it Gambit?
Always Channing Tatum. Gambit, Henry, and Sarah are left alone. Sarah cleans herself up. Gambit asks how old she is, and she doesn't know. Gambit asks where she lives, and she says with Mr. Essex. They don't know where that is, obviously. Sarah pulls out a picture and hands it to Gambit. He can't believe it. It's a photo of Sarah with her parents. The same parents as young Gambit in his photo. They're siblings.
What? Plot twist. I can honestly say, did not see that coming.
Gambit is furious. He's been lied to his whole life. And Sarah just wants to go back. But Gambit is not sure it's a good idea. The next day, Gambit and Sarah arrive at the Essex compound. Sarah goes through a series of security procedures to enter. When they're cleared, a melody plays. A melody that Gambit whistled unknowingly as a kid. This place is all too unfamiliar and yet familiar to Gambit.
It's Raspberry Beret.
They walk through the compound, and it's filled with rows of little houses. Children are running around, happy and celebrating Mardi Gras. Gambit spots a set of columns. Those were the columns from his and Sarah's picture. One of the nurses pipes up and says, "Look, Remy's back." Over the PA, the children are told to return. Some of them go into the houses, and the others, including Sarah, go to the medical building. Gambit continues to follow her. He witnesses mutants being cared for. Some of them are getting blood and tissue samples drawn from them. Sarah is safely brought back to the cradle she came from. Gambit continues through the building and stops to see a door with a diamond and 2 dots around it, a symbol that Gambit has doodled when he was young. He tries to open the door, but it's locked. He charges the handle and blows the door open. An alarm goes off and Gambit hurries down the stairwell. Down further, he sees incubators filled with newborn mutants. Scientists are taking blood and tissue samples, but then he sees them injecting something into them. Gambit bangs on the window and yells, "What are you doing to those kids?" Essex is monitoring Gambit through the security cameras. He takes a black pill in anticipation of meeting Gambit. Gambit is seething, running through the hallways. In his hand, he's charging up a card. He bursts into the birthing room, and there, Gambit finds Essex holding a newborn, and Gambit backs down. Essex diffuses the situation and thanks him for bringing back Sarah. Gambit notices the newborn has no belly button. Gambit threatens to destroy the compound and whatever Essex is doing here. Essex tells Gambit a story about the first kid in the program, who was actually one of his own, a child that was sick all the time. When Essex looked at the child, he felt nothing. He thought he would grow to love him, but no. So Essex decided to experiment on him. The child had bad blood inside him, and he was certain that he wouldn't live past 4. He gave him up and left the child by the river, and it's implied that Gambit is that sick child.
What?
He ends the villain monologue by saying, "You've always had a darkness in you.
Gambit, I am your father."
Now you know where it comes from. Me. Gambit throws a card at Essex, but Essex stops the card telekinetically and redirects it into the wall. Gambit gets angrier with each card he throws and becomes more destructive. Essex gives him an offer. Gambit works for him and will learn to control his powers, or Essex will make sure Gambit is punished for every crime he has ever committed. Gambit's eyes turn jet black.
Oh.
He throws a final card as the guards take him out with either guns or tasers. The card limply hits the ground. We cut to the New Orleans courtroom.
There we are,
Mm-hmm.
paying for all of his crimes.
Gambit is on the witness stand, giving his statement and owning up to what he's done. In a twist, he points out the real criminal is Essex for exploiting the mutants from Storyville, the mutants no one cared about. Gambit is put into contempt. Essex is brought up to the stand and states that Remy LeBeau's testimony is false. Gambit is brought back to the court, and he's found guilty for attempted murder and is sentenced to 50 years in prison.
Who do you attempted murder?
Essex.
Oh, well, meh.
Essex steps out of the courtroom, feeling victorious. Suddenly, a child hands him an envelope with 3 photos inside. They're headshots. The bailiff and 2 security guards, they're just actors. Yeah. Essex gets a call from someone informing him that he's being robbed. We cut to a flashback of Henry, Jamie, and Bella running a heist with her crew. When Essex entered the courtroom, the 2 security guards took his keys, and while he was going through the metal detector, they put it in putty to make a copy of them. The keys were given to the Vanisher twins to unlock the doors at the Essex mansion.
Yeah.
They are robbing the place of everything. Essex calls one of his employees and demands that they do not open the gate, and the employee says, "But you just opened the gate."
Yeah.
When Essex put his hand on the Bible, turns out that was a fingerprint scanner, and the recording of his voice by saying his name, that was his password.
Oh my God, that was really dumb of him.
Mask was able to transform Jamie into Essex, and they used latex skin to put his fingerprints on him. We watch as the crew gets past the gate. Bella and her crew holds up the Essex henchmen at gunpoint, and they start destroying the machines. Bella finds Sarah and takes her. Essex Essex is such a hard word to say.
Essex?
Essex.
How is it spelled?
Essex.
And that's, like you said in nerddom, that's
Mr. Sinister.
Okay.
And then I just said Essex exits. Essex exits the courtroom.
You got to do that one again.
Essex exits the courtroom and is met with a nosy reporter named Chris Claremont. This is a nod to the creator of Gambit. He's asked about the hundreds of mutants that are suddenly just showing up and saying that they're from his facility. Essex has no comment. Essex goes to see Gambit in a holding cell. Gambit, all of a sudden, turns into Mystique and slips out the window.
We did know Mystique after all.
She gets into the car, and in the front seat are Henry and Gambit. They all arrive at the Boudreaux's. Gambit admits to Henry that this was a great plan. Henry pulls out some mutant pills and throws them away. He doesn't need them anymore. We see the team back together. All of them in a much better situation. Gambit pulls out the engagement ring that he's been saving since he was a kid and slips it on Bella's finger. Gambit calls Essex and says, "You're right, Dad. I'm a bad man." We cut to the crew partying, and we end the movie with a Bollywood-style dance number.
I was there the whole... why Bollywood? Just to get Channing Tatum to dance again?
Any excuse to get Channing Tatum to dance, they will do it.
Is Bollywood a thing in New Orleans? Because there's...
Not really.
You wouldn't do like a big band dance number down Bourbon Street? That feels more...
Something I didn't include, just because it was like background music and such, is like every once in a while you get a street band and whatnot.
Yeah, like not like when the Saints come marching in a big band. Like that, I enjoy Bollywood. This does not feel like it fits the theme.
I think they just said Bollywood just to be like a choreographed dance
Right.
number or whatnot, but it's not going to be like proper.
I want it like, you know, when Queer Eye was in Louisiana and they just would like dance down the street. Yeah. That's what I want.
I think it's just mostly like everyone's together. Let's just do
Right.
a dance number together.
Do the Gambit.
Yeah, do the Gambit. So, Gambit, the solo adventure. What are you thinking?
I want to watch this movie.
I do too.
I think now that we've seen how funny it is, I love Josh Holloway. That's a different movie. This is Channing Tatum.
Yeah, and I think that's why I wanted you to watch Logan Lucky.
Yes.
Is because it is him in the time that he would have been doing this movie, pulling off a heist.
Because we were talking about how old Channing Tatum is. And I don't think he's too old.
I don't think so either.
And I think Lizzie Kaplan as Bella is still really good.
Yeah.
I don't know, Fox, Marvel, who needs to hear it, but that...
This is a lot of fun, and I'm a sucker for heist movies.
I am also a sucker for a heist movie. There's a lot of bait and switch in this. It really does remind me of Ocean's 8, just a wee bit. I think the only scene that I would cut is the fever dream of a bunch of Gambits, just because we have had Deadpool, and that was so recent with all of the Deadpools. It's a hat on a hat.
This is also like before.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, like, if we're doing it now... I would cut that for a time.
Oh, yeah. There was a scene that I had cut just because it didn't seem relevant. When they're like, we need to put together a team of mutants. There's a scene where Henry and Gambit, they go down to, I think they even have the meeting at Cafe du Mall. They find one of those like human statues, like performers.
Yes.
And he's an actual mutant who can speed up time around him.
Ooh, that's fun.
Like he can manipulate time.
So can he slow himself down, which is why he's
a statue. And they go to meet him and they're like, hey, do you know any mutants that we can get in contact with for a job? I'm like, I don't think we need to do that. And the problem that I found with it is like, because Gambit is so tied in with, especially when you saw it like in the prison, like see so tied in with people of Storyville, delinquents, all that stuff. Like I think he would know where to go.
Yeah, I like the use of a street performer, but like he has to join the team. It's not, can you show us? It's, will you come be a part of this team?
Yeah, the fact that he wasn't part of the team, which is why I didn't include that scene.
Yeah, that doesn't
at all.
That lifts right out.
Yeah.
You're not connected to anybody. You lift right out. I enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine. Don't get me wrong. I think it's fun. I think it harkens back to an older time of boy stuffs. And like I like Emma Corrin as like the big bad. But this is fun. This is a really good team movie.
What I was shocked with, because Channing Tatum, just like while waiting for this movie to happen, went on to do Logan Lucky with Steven Soderbergh. I'm surprised he wasn't like, hey,
Steven Soderbergh,
Stevie boy, I'm trying to put together
a team,
a heist movie, and we want you on the team. Are you in?
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
I mean, maybe he did.
It's very possible.
Because Soderbergh's never done a Marvel, right?
Ooh, I wonder if maybe he just doesn't want to get caught up in that system.
That's what I was thinking.
Because Steven Soderbergh is very much one of those people that's like, I do a movie for me
and
that's Magic Mike, and then I do a movie for the studio, that's Ocean's movies.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, we haven't had an Ocean's movie in a while, so maybe instead of doing an Ocean's movie, he takes one for the Marvel team, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Steven Soderbergh, if you're out there. We've got a cast. We've got a story.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing, I don't think
he's ever touched the Marvel machine.
He hasn't done any of that, nor has he done a superhero movie.
Mm-mm.
This is also around the time where Marvel was figuring out, And I think X-Men figured it out first, where you can't just rely on the Superman comic book superhero formula. Like, we figured that out when we did Superman, the Richard Donner Superman. And that is the exact formula that we did in Iron Man. And then we just started repeating that over and over and over again. And now we see it, especially with Marvel movies, TV shows. It's like, well, what if you took a type of movie, a genre, and then you just inserted superheroes in it?
Right.
And we got this with Deadpool, with it being a romantic comedy.
Mm-hmm.
We got it with Logan, that is a Western movie.
Right.
And then this would have completed the trifecta of Gambit, the heist film.
But even if you think of like WandaVision, very
Oh,
genre
yes.
specific, or even Agatha All Along,
Mhm.
it's no longer a superhero movie or TV show. It is a genre, because you're taking out the superhero, the super strength, the not human part. They become 10 times more relatable.
Yeah. And Gambit was like, would have been perfect for that because he does have a lot of darkness behind him. He
But we're
has,
sort of swinging back into that a little. Like Deadpool 3 is about him wanting to save his people, right?
Yep.
And it's becomes sort of like, you're my buddy. It's a buddy cop movie. It's not really a superhero movie.
no, yeah, buddy cop is the best way to describe it. I don't know what the movie had turned into because apparently like this script was
Oh,
the
right.
one.
This is only number 2.
Yeah, this is apparently the one that they were not happy with.
Oh.
And then they turned it into the R-rated romantic comedy with some thieving.
I think this was ahead of its time because this was 20. Is this the 2015 one?
This is 2015 is when it was written.
Where were we in superhero lore?
So this would have been like the transition to the new era, which is Days of Future Past, which then rewrites X-Men history.
Mhm.
And basically they could take that and just like shove it to the side and be like, we can create our own
Right.
new lore because of Days of Future Past.
Oh, okay. So 2015 superhero movies,
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic Four, which tanked. And then 2015 was Ant-Man, which solo film did really well. And then the other one was Avengers Age of Ultron. So you have a team up movie. But I would say Ant-Man and Age of Ultron, while successful, were we are a superhero movie. They weren't flipping anything.
And then Deadpool came out a year after.
Deadpool was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Deadpool, I would say, skirts, right? Like, it's still a superhero movie.
Yep.
It's also a romantic comedy. But I think, like, if you look at Deadpool and Wolverine, that steers hard into the buddy cop realm.
And this is where they finally understood, like, oh, we can actually make our own type of movie,
Mm-hmm.
just include these characters in it. Because then a year after Deadpool, we got Logan.
Yeah, and Logan, I don't feel a lot of similarities with Logan as to anything we've ever done ever. It feels like there's no ounce of superhero in that. And I know that there is, but it doesn't feel like it.
It's kind of like the later years of Westerns. So like the Unforgiven type of Westerns where it's like you have someone who regrets everything and just trying to hang on to whatever little they have. And this is their last chance to be a hero.
Yeah.
But yeah, then with Gambit, like the fact that they got delayed at first, I think is to their advantage because then you have an audience who's primed to seeing Deadpool, seeing Logan, these R-rated superhero movies. And they're like, well, I think we could do the same.
I think if it would have come out in 2015, it wouldn't have landed the same way.
No.
We hadn't hit like superhero fatigue yet.
Yeah. And I think what I mentioned before, like, had they just gone straight for this film, because it seemed like a lot of this movie, they were also trying to do what they were doing with Origins. They're still reimagining what superheroes are like on the big screen and not necessarily pulling from the comics. So there were many instances where, like I said, they're all using their government names. They're not really saying their superhero names. Like even in the script, I know that whenever Gambit headlines, it would say Gambit says this. Whenever anyone was talking to him, it would be like Remy.
Right.
They would say his full name. We even saw it with Mr. Essex. Actually, the part where I mentioned that this is Mr. Sinister, that was my insert.
Right.
That was not in the script.
It's a clever thing. They're trying to be like, do you know who this is?
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I like the idea of just like leaning into what is known in the comics. If you're trying to make a costume for a character, like try to be as faithful as you can to what is in the comics.
I also think the multiverse has been both good and bad, but I think the good part is, like we saw in Deadpool, you can sort of universe jump. So Channing Tatum, like, how did that version get to the void? Is that the same version that would be in the movie?
Mhm.
Is that a different one? And then you have two Gambits talking to each other, and that's funny. Like,
Yeah. And I think now that you do have the multiverse, it creates a lot of freedom
yes.
because then you're not trying to tie everything together. Instead, you're just be like, we're going to be in this universe and we're just going to tell this story. And you can do the same thing with Gambit, where it was like, Gambit's just like in this universe.
Or have Jennifer Garner play Marianne, and
Yeah.
he's like, hey, I don't know you.
And so you can just make your own Gambit story, and then you can still make it a heist film. Like, you have to lean
Yes.
into that.
But that also makes him unique. We have not had a thieving story.
Mm-mm. Fast and Furious did it.
Right. But I mean, like, in the grand scheme of superhero things, the thing that people seem to be really loving now is when it's a different genre or a different, like, archetype. And so now almost feels like the time for that.
Yeah.
Channing Tatum. If you need directors, we're free.
The fact that Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds like left it open to be like, guys, he's still alive.
That, I'm so glad you sent me that. And we're like, one more thing, like, watch this before. That shot alone fits that story.
Yes, of course he would live.
No, but I mean, it fits this script.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's an essence of that person in what he's playing, and you can tell.
Yeah.
The only thing that I don't understand now that we've actually said it is his, like, staff. Because in Deadpool and Wolverine, he's got purple magic, doesn't have the red eyes like he has in this and in the cartoon.
In this, he doesn't have a staff, and I think that's also another product of like, we're not going to copy paste from the comic book. We're going to make him his own thing.
I just don't think he needs it.
I don't think so either. I
Like,
think
is it made of kinetic energy? Because that'd be
staff?
cool.
Well,
It's like where he's harnessed it.
yeah, the way he uses the staff is very much like that, where he can like charge it, but it doesn't become the thing that explodes. He's able to like shoot kinetic energy out of it or like transfer it. Like if he needs to like poke something far away, he can
Yeah.
use the staff to like,
Oh, so he can, yeah. It's a telescoping staff that he charges.
in this case, like he just didn't really have it.
Yeah, I don't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, you could even have the stakes be higher, right? And has been in love with Bella this whole time. And you could kill her off at the end knowing that Rogue comes along.
Yeah. But also like what happens if he's just part of the X-Men?
Right. But I mean, with the Deadpool part, it is a love story. And if you don't want to cross the streams of those, you could, I don't want to kill her off. She sounds great, but
Yeah. And you feel a lot more sympathy for Belladonna. Whereas like in the
yes, you don't.
in that one episode that you saw, you're just like, Belladonna's pretty awful.
It took me a second viewing to be like, what's happening? For that to be a children's cartoon, I'm like, you guys had no idea what was going on. There's so much that happens in that like 20 minutes.
Yeah, like I just summed it up. I watched it, I think 3 times to be like, I definitely did not get this story straight.
It is like, you know, the thieves and the assassins are against each other. But like, then there's the tithe. And I'm like,
Why?
what kid knows what that means other than us who went to Catholic school?
Yeah.
It's very mature.
It's very mature. It's a very complicated. And you just have like just little kids watching it and be like, I just want to see like big muscular people fight each other.
Came home from work the other day and Billy's asking me about a tithe. Like, what? I'm glad you had me watch that episode. I do like that it is the Romeo and Juliet of it. I do.
Yeah.
It's a forbidden love story.
I think that's kind of what Rogue represents as well, where it's like he's going after someone who is literally untouchable.
You would feel for him so much because whatever happens to get him to Rogue, obviously Belladonna's not in the picture anymore. So then he lost his first love, regardless if it's death, fight, whatever. And then he finally musters up the courage to fall in love with someone else, and they can't touch. He's like cursed when it comes to love, but he's going to make a good joke about it. Also, you could play with tarot cards in a very fun way.
Yeah. Something that I was kind of disappointed in the script, and I think this is just a product of me just always watching the X-Men series. You saw X-Men 97.
I haven't watched the new one.
Okay. In that one, Mr. Sinister is like the main big bad.
He's a big bad in the comics too, right?
Yes. But in X-Men 97, the TV series, like he becomes the main big bad.
Spoilers.
I think you can either change the character. It doesn't have to be Essex, or if you do, you have to like somehow show that he got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
So they can pull off the heist, but like he's got something in his back pocket to like keep going, because He is so incredibly powerful. And in this case, it seems like they downplayed his abilities.
Yeah, like he was just a doctor creating a bunch of mutants.
Mm-hmm. For the fans who know Mr. Sinister, who knows the Essex Corporation, like, it is a big deal.
He also can shapeshift. Oh man, if he killed Bella but shapeshifted into her, and then like that's how you start Gambit 2.
Yeah.
Because powers are telepathy. What's precognition? Contact with the future. Psychic phenomena of seeing the future. If he could see the future, he could stop it all. He also has the regenerative thing. Do any of them not regenerate? Oh, he gained his powers by studying the genomes. He's at the beginning of his own origin story in this too.
Yeah. I'm just kind of disappointed that they downplayed it that much.
Oh, his name is Dr. Nathaniel Essex. Oh, okay.
Yeah, in the script, his abilities are extremely downplayed. He just seems like an evil scientist.
Yeah.
So what I would like to see as a change in the script is for the focus to be on the Boudreaux and just the betrayal that Gambit felt by Belladonna's mom. And just like taking down the family, and then Belladonna just like takes over the family after that and be like, happy ending. I would be very happy with that. And then afterwards, the post-credit scene where Essex comes up to him and be like, hey, I got a job for you.
I don't mind the Essex that they put in there. I like it as, again, his own sort of origin story. We don't know enough about him at that point. He seems just like, oh, he's a mean dude. According to the, also quick Google, is that his child died. I like the Gambit Essex connection. Also, if Sarah is the little girl in the trunk, are we saying that Sarah and Gambit are related? Or are we saying that Essex is just creating children in this lab?
It seems like he is creating in the lab and using his own DNA to make that happen.
I mean, it's super messed up. I don't think the clashing families is enough. Like, this can't be standalone. There's too much packed in. This is a good first movie.
I think something needs to be done differently about Essex. Like, they need to set him up to be like...
The Thanos.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they do. That can remain it's the same, but you need a post-credit or something that he's not dead. He can shapeshift, so if they have this magical moment of reuniting, and then it's like Belladonna in the shower.
Yeah.
You just the glance in the mirror, you see that it's him and not her because they've already done it once. That's enough of a setup.
Yeah. I mean, overall, it's really good. I think maybe if it was just like a different, or wait, who it should have been.
A different character entirely?
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen Sinister, though, have we? On film?
Well, we get the Essex Corporation in one of the post-credit scenes. He is not.
Okay, so I like that we're using him, and he sounds as big of a bad as Thanos, and we didn't see Thanos for a long time.
Stryker. That's what it should have been.
Who's Stryker?
Stryker is the mad scientist who created Wolverine.
Have we seen him in a movie before?
Yes.
Well, then I don't want it.
He's been in like every X-Men movie.
Oh, see, then no.
I think that's what they were going for, was like, maybe Stryker might have been in the original, but like you brought up, is like, he's been in everything. We can't keep on using Stryker. Yeah. They use the characteristics of Stryker and put into Mr. Sinister, and that's not who Mr. Sinister is.
Mr. Sinister is a genetic scientist, though, and that's what he was doing. Is Stryker a genetic scientist?
Yes.
Well, then you've got too many genetic scientists.
But the difference is Stryker is not a mutant, where Mr. Sinister is.
Oh, then that's the tag revelation. He somehow gets away with it. Like, and you could even not give him the diamond and Essex obviously means Sinister, but you could sort of morph them together, and then until the tag, you don't really know which one it is. I don't mind that.
Yeah. Something you could have done, because we see him like take the pill.
But he takes a black pill, so he might just be powering up instead of...
Yeah, because he has such an array of different abilities. It would be interesting to be like, he has manufactured ways for him to like take on those many abilities.
Almost like the Secret Invasion. Like, he's like, oh, I would like the Hulk's powers. So yeah. Yeah,
so you can do something like that. That'd
just a wall of vials.
See, this is how you do it.
We're available.
Yes. We can workshop this. We can do this.
Happy to. I think it's a really good movie.
It is a really great movie. I love the twists. Here's how well the twist worked for me. I watched online. Someone did like a really fast, like 5-minute summary of what happened in the script. I knew that there was a little girl mutant that they find. Left my mind entirely. I read it in the script, and it still shocked me.
When he sees the girl at the beginning, she's Chekhov's little mutant for me. And I was like, okay, it's either rogue or she's got to come back around. I didn't see her being in the trunk.
I didn't see that either.
I didn't see the child trafficking angle coming up.
Yeah, brilliant. Even the Henry on the toilet with fried chicken.
That I don't need, but I'm sure it's a good gag.
Yeah. It was funny and they used it. It was something that you just never expected to pay off. And somehow it did.
No, I felt like it was a grotesque thing that they had thrown in. And the second time you're sort of like, fine, fine, use it. Between the, like, you cannot traffic little mutants and the underwater city clearly being an allegory for hurricanes, they are really pushing conversation pieces into a summer blockbuster, which I always enjoy.
Yeah.
It's, I wouldn't say subtle, but it's not spoon feeding, which I also appreciated.
What's also nice is like this is a smaller movie. This isn't world ending stakes. It's a revenge heist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's Ocean's 13. They get robbed, rob them right back.
The plot, like, we lied to you, this is really the heist that we're doing, reminds me of Ocean's 8 when they open the refrigerator and they're like, we stole way more than anybody thought. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. Something that didn't pay off, though, and I looked for it everywhere, and I was like, maybe I missed it, was Gambit and Belladonna getting handsy with each other in the opera box, and he slips something into
her pocket.
Into her pocket.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I got so taken aback with everything, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it doesn't come up again.
Put that in the tag. You didn't say anything about the note I put, and she's like, what note? And it's not in her pocket, and it's sinister.
I was really hoping that it was the engagement ring.
I thought it was like a note. It just says he slipped something.
He slipped something into her back pocket. We don't know what it is.
Yeah, that is sweet. He loved her anyway. He didn't like messing with her.
Yeah, I was really hoping that it was like the engagement ring that he slipped into her pocket.
That would be great.
I feel like that was put in there and the writer was like, I'll figure it out later. This is not the final draft.
Right.
I'll deal with that later, and just didn't happen.
So, because she's a mutant too, yeah?
Belladonna?
Yeah.
Yes.
But her mother is not?
No.
I guess she could have been created, right? Mutants can be created, or they're born with it?
They're born with it, and there are instances where, just like Hermione, mutants can be born of humans, of muggles.
Okay. Because I was like, are we alluding to the fact that Sinister created her too? And I was like, don't make them.
Mm-mm.
Okay, great.
No. Belladonna is her own thing.
Great. As someone who doesn't know the lore, I was like, I just need this cleared up real quick.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's make it happen.
Channing, let's shoot this.
Tatum, we don't know who your representatives are because you let them go, but...
And we don't have any. And Lizzie. We'll give Lizzie a call.
Okay. I'll give her a text right now.
Yeah.
I think we can move on to recommendations.
Yeah. Presents.
Presents.
The horror movie that is from the perspective of the ghost.
Ooh.
I really would like to see it. I also love Chris Sullivan, who was in This Is Us as Toby, and he narrates the trailer, or like it's his voiceover. But Toby was this very like fun-loving like prankster, and so for him to be in a horror movie is to me like a big switch for him. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh God, it's gonna bug me, but I'm really excited to see him like use his acting chops, because I know he has them by listening to the podcast That Was Us. I think he's a real cool dude, and it has Lucy Liu. I think they're the parents. But it looks really scary. Taserface. That's who he was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, that's my rec. My blind rec.
Okay. And if you're willing to pay me, go see Better Man with the monkey.
That is not what I said. Plot twist.
I'm not recommending see Better Man. What's crazy to me about Better Man?
What is
Here's my
crazy
rant.
to you?
No one acknowledges it, that he's a monkey.
Have you seen it?
I've not.
Oh, you don't know then. Maybe they do.
They don't. The reviews have said
Okay.
no one does. Because the idea is that Robbie Williams sees himself as like a performing monkey. And he portrays himself that way. And that's why they spent over $100 million to like CGI him the whole time.
Right, but at this point, all of CG and what AI will use is a library. And we have lots of monkeys in a library, as terrible as that sounds.
But that's definitely what skyrocketed the budget.
Yeah.
And not making a straight
Biopic? I don't know who he is.
Robbie Williams?
Yeah.
He's a British pop star.
Okay. What is he saying?
I don't know.
I mean that with all the love in the world. Clearly he has a fan base. But this is brand new information to me. So maybe I should see it and learn something. And I'm all for creativity. So while this doesn't jump out as my cup of tea, I'm glad they tried something new other than a straight biopic.
But they swung for the fences.
They did. They swung for the fences.
They swung really hard. You're not going to know any of these songs. So what's baffling about like most of the reviews for it, so many of them say once you get past the fact
That he's a monkey?
that he's a monkey, then you're really going to enjoy the movie. And I'm just like, what's the monkey for? Why go through that trouble? Why are you doing this?
Because I like the metaphor that he's a performing monkey.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer him to morph into one. I need that metaphor to be less subtle.
I think if he were to like look at himself in the mirror and he
Yes!
sees himself as a monkey,
Yes. Okay.
and then outside of it, and it's like, just plain old Robbie Williams.
Or if he can only see his own personal reflection, like the world sees him as a performing monkey, but he's actually a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Maybe
would
like
cut down
that.
the budget a little.
Yeah. But I'm just like baffled by everyone who's like, this is an amazing movie if you don't think about the monkey. And it's like, isn't the monkey the
Point.
point?
Listen.
What are we doing here?
I am all for an original story. I am all for doing something different than what the machine is putting out. But yes, I have similar questions.
Yeah.
Knowing that, now I want to see it and keep that in my head.
My favorite meme that's come out of it, it's the Mad Men meme between Don Draper and Peggy, where she's like, but no one in America is going to know who Robbie Williams
Yes,
is.
you've sent me this.
And he's like, that's what the monkey is for.
I want to see it now. They've done their job.
They did it. We're talking about it.
Yep. Well
Go
done.
see Better Man.
Is that your recommendation? Is that your blind rec? Because you haven't seen it.
I mean, if I have convinced anyone,
You
even
convinced
us,
me.
to go see Better Man, you are just a drop in the bucket at this point. So it doesn't matter.
Do you have another one? Do you have one you've seen?
So Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim, that film was phenomenal. Like the whole point of the movie is to show like how the helm got its name, like the
Yes.
area. Yeah. If you're a Tolkien head,
I like The Hobbit, the book.
if you're really into the lore of the Lord of the Rings, it's amazing.
Or if you like anime, right? Isn't it really pretty?
Yes, gorgeous film. And it's not for children. Like there's a lot of violence in that
Nor
movie.
is this Gambit movie.
No, it isn't. Because I was in there and there were definitely parents who brought in their kids to be like, it's a cartoon. Cartoons are for kids.
Listen, I'm really excited for you to finish the Wicked book, and then we can talk about how, like,
Yes.
maybe check what Wicked is before you buy the book for your children.
Like the reason I say it's not for kids, it's not just the violence that's part of it, but like
Right.
a lot of the themes
Are
the-
mature.
is very mature. And I just feel like a lot of the themes that are stated right over their heads.
Much like the X-Men of 1992.
Yes. If you want to support this podcast, you can do so directly by joining our Patreon. Actually, everything that we mention, all the links for it in the description.
It is the happiest, easiest place to find us.
Yeah. Also, we have merch as well.
This is brand new information to me.
I forget that we have merch because I set up a Redbubble account where you can just...
I'm going to make more merch.
Actually, if you are watching the video of it, you can actually see one of those things where all it is just the logo of the podcast, and you can just get it in various forms on various things. Get it on a mug, get it on a shirt, get it as a sticker, put it on your laptop. We don't sell laptops, but...
Not yet. Give it time. I got a lot of time on my hands. Let's see what I can figure out.
But that is on Redbubble. You can check that out. You can also support us on Patreon, where you can listen to ad-free episodes of every episode that we have created. You can see
You can watch ad-free episodes.
You can watch us
Yeah.
on the Patreon. Yeah, you can watch us, see our faces, see if anything new has happened to our faces, whatever that may be.
Now they're going to look for something. I'm Deadpool.
Yeah, so check that out. We're going to be hopefully coming out with a new episode. We have some things
We've got
lined
lots
up.
of episodes that we want to do.
Yeah, but like the side episodes as well.
Oh, yeah, lots of those. We have lots of things we want to do. It just
Yeah.
depends on if the world's on fire or not.
Yeah, if our city wasn't on fire, this would have come out sooner. We would have other
Our
things to
equipment
just...
had to go in the go bag.
Yeah, I had to actually, weirdly enough, when it was near evacuation time, I looked at my audio recorder and just like grabbed the microphone and was like, maybe.
Oh yeah, my mic went into my go bag.
Yeah.
I actually took it out of my go bag this morning. Like, we are very, very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're complaining about having this stuff in a go bag, but like, we're very safe. Just need to support those who have lost a lot more than us.
Yeah, we are very low on the totem pole of where your support should go to. But if you choose to support us, you know where to do.
Yep.
Where to go for that. If you want to support us for free, share this episode with your friends, family, movie nerds, comic book nerds, Gambit nerds that are out there. I know you're out there.
New Gambit nerds like me.
Mm-hmm. Tell others about the podcast. Follow us on our socials. As of now, our socials is Blue Sky at HDTNGM, and we're on TikTok and Instagram. That is at How Did This Not Get Made? And we still have TikTok on our phones, so if anyone wants to buy my phone for like $10,000, you are absolutely allowed to.
Actually, a good chunk of that money would go back into the podcast. So still supporting us.
Yeah, that is it. Go figure out how to throw cards.
You find your own mutant magical power.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.